People with diabetes are up to 4 times more likely to suffer a heart attack or stroke. But what if one simple leaf could quietly lower that risk while also helping with blood sugar and burning stubborn belly fat? Let's break down how this powerful leaf works and why more and more older adults are now adding it to their routine. So how do diabetes, belly fat, and artery health connect in ways most people never realize? The link is strong and often silent, but it's at the core of why type 2 diabetes can become so dangerous for the heart. People with diabetes already face 2 to 4 times higher odds of heart disease, and carrying extra weight around the stomach raises that risk even more. This isn't just a surface-level weight issue. Deep belly fat, what doctors call visceral fat, acts almost like its own organ. Instead of sitting quietly, it releases chemical messengers that trigger inflammation throughout the body. That ongoing inflammation damages artery walls and makes it easier for cholesterol to stick, slowly setting the stage for blockages. The problem is made worse by insulin resistance, a hallmark of type 2 diabetes. When your cells don't respond well to insulin, sugar builds up in the blood instead of moving into muscles for energy. Over time, much of this excess sugar is stored away as new fat around the abdomen. The more visceral fat accumulates, the more signals it sends out that fuel inflammation and worsen insulin resistance. It becomes a self-feeding cycle. Blood sugar spikes promote fat storage, fat drives more resistance, and arteries take the punishment. Repeated spikes don't just reflect poor blood sugar control, they actively raise oxidative stress and inflammation inside blood vessels. Studies link these frequent post-meal surges to higher long-term cardiovascular risk, which is why targeting them matters so much. Another hurdle is how treatments often get split apart. One specialist may prescribe drugs for blood sugar, while another focuses on cholesterol levels. Rarely do treatments look at the whole picture, how fat around the organs feeds artery damage or how sugar surges after meals worsen both problems. For older adults already managing multiple prescriptions, that gap can leave them vulnerable. What's needed is an approach that works on several fronts at once: calming sugar responses, slowing fat storage, and reducing the stress that weakens artery walls. This is where mulberry leaf enters the picture. What makes it stand out is how it appears to touch multiple points in this cycle, rather than just one. Preclinical studies show mulberry compounds can reduce adipose accumulation and improve lipid metabolism in animals. Human trials have most clearly demonstrated that it improves post-meal glucose and insulin control, while effects on cholesterol and triglycerides in people remain less consistently proven. Still, even this single action, slowing how fast carbs turn into sugar, can break part of the cycle that drives belly fat and vascular inflammation. Inside mulberry leaf is a natural compound called 1-deoxyno-gyramycin, or DNJ. This acts like a natural enzyme blocker, slowing down the digestion of starches from foods such as bread, rice, and pasta. Without it, sugar molecules flood into the blood all at once. With it, that flood turns into more of a trickle. A slower release means smaller spikes, and that not only protects arteries from stress but also reduces the chance of excess sugar being stored as fat in the abdomen. The research evidence adds to the promise. In a randomized study of a standardized mulberry leaf extract known as Redicose, a single pre-meal dose reduced both 2-hour post-meal glucose and insulin by about 30% compared with placebo when taken with a mixed meal. This is meaningful because it wasn't just seen with a sugar drink in the lab, it worked in the context of real foods. By targeting several pathways, slowing carb digestion, improving insulin signaling, and lowering markers of inflammation in animal studies, mulberry leaf may help support both blood sugar and cardiovascular health when used alongside standard care. The takeaway is clear: belly fat, unstable blood sugar, and artery damage are deeply connected, and breaking that cycle starts by calming the sugar surges that happen after meals. That's exactly where this leaf shines. So let's look at how it works inside your body to block those dangerous spikes. For people living with type 2 diabetes or prediabetes, the real challenge often comes directly after meals. Sharp rises in blood sugar aren't just uncomfortable, they quietly damage blood vessels with every spike. Each surge stresses the inner lining of arteries, encourages cholesterol buildup, and fuels inflammation. These effects accumulate over time, and for older adults whose defenses against oxidative stress and inflammation are already weaker, they appear more quickly. High fasting glucose is concerning, but it's those repeating bursts after breakfast, lunch, and dinner that accelerate complications. That's why the long-standing advice has been to cut back on bread, rice, and pasta, but in reality, food is part of culture and family life, and completely avoiding carbs often leaves people feeling deprived and frustrated. Many eventually find themselves caught in cycles of cravings. Instead of eliminating these foods, the goal shifts to changing how the body handles them. If sugar can enter the bloodstream more slowly, it gives tissues time to respond. The difference between a downpour and a light, steady drizzle can mean far less damage in the long run. This is where mulberry leaves add something unique. They contain a natural compound, 1-deoxynogeromycin, DNJ, that directly interacts with how carbohydrates are broken down. DNJ competitively inhibits intestinal enzymes, alpha-glucosidase and alpha-amylase, that are normally responsible for rapidly breaking starches into glucose. With these enzymes slowed, digestion doesn't stop, it just takes longer. Bread, rice, and pasta release sugars gradually, resulting in smaller and steadier rises in blood sugar. Think of it as turning an open floodgate into a controlled stream. The body is better able to use that glucose for energy rather than being overwhelmed by a surge that gets stored as fat or lingers in the blood. In fact, DNJ's action is not just anecdotal. In laboratory testing, its enzyme blocking effect has been compared to pharmaceutical alpha-glucosidase inhibitors, a class of diabetes medications. The difference is that mulberry's compounds tend to act more gently and, in studies, have been tested as food ingredients with good tolerance. This doesn't mean they replace prescription drugs, but it shows why researchers take them seriously. The clinical evidence gives weight to this mechanism. A double-blind trial at Oxford Brookes University tested Reducose, a standardized mulberry leaf extract, in 37 volunteers. Doses of 200, 225, and 250 milligrams taken before a mixed meal reduced the overall 2-hour blood sugar response by about 30 to 33% compared with placebo. Insulin responses were reduced as well by 31 to 38%. The reductions weren't limited to lab drinks. They occurred with full meals containing bread, fats, and protein, making the findings highly relevant to daily life. Peak glucose and insulin values were also measurably lower, and even the timing of the insulin peak shifted, suggesting a smoother, more coordinated release. Reducing these post-meal surges translates beyond numbers on a glucose meter. Smaller spikes mean less wear on the arteries, lower inflammation, and less likelihood that unused glucose will be stored as visceral fat. For those managing diabetes into older age, that reprieve can help slow the progression of heart and vascular disease. Important safety note: mulberry leaf extracts can interfere with metformin clearance in some studies, so people taking metformin should not self-prescribe this leaf. Ask your doctor before trying it. For those cleared by their clinician, it helps to know how it's been studied. Clinical trials generally used around 200 to 250 milligrams of a standardized extract taken just before meals. Teas and homemade infusions vary in their DNJ content, so standardized forms or reviewing options with a practitioner offer more predictable results. So yes, mulberry leaf can do a lot. But here's the truth: if insulin resistance stays high, managing diabetes gets harder, no matter what else you add to your diet. That's why in our next video, we're revealing the top 5 foods that destroy insulin resistance fast, and the best part? They're not exotic or expensive, just everyday foods older adults are already using to restore their body's natural insulin response. Tap here to watch now.